I also had to write mine down because I'm probably not going to get through it either. My name's Dave, and I've known Cody since 2013. I had the privilege to get to know Cody as a firefighter first, and then later on I got to know him as a person. When Justin called me the other night and asked me to speak, I was honored and humbled, and of course I said yes. Over the last week, I've thought a lot about Cody, and I didn't realize how many memories I've had of him in the 5 short years that I knew him. There's so many stories I can share, and some I can't. I know I don't have time to cover it all, but here goes. I first met Cody in the spring of 2013. He was a Cunningham recruit firefighter, and I was part of the instructor cadre at West Metro Fire Training Center. It was a mixture of Cunningham, West Metro, South Metro, and Littleton fire departments, which I know are all represented here today. I spent the next 20 weeks with Cody, and that's where I started to get to know him as a firefighter. Cody came with experience, and I knew from day one he was a smart and dedicated firefighter. Throughout the academy, Cody was always there to help his peers if they were struggling or if they just needed some extra reps. I remember being impressed with Cody for his steady demeanor. He never got too excited or stressed, and he was always able to think on his feet. He made many great friends during that time, which were represented here by their attendance. Once the academy ended, everyone dispersed out to their departments, but I know many of them remained good friends. I saw and kept in touch with Cody over the next few years at barbecues and other social gatherings. In 2015, Littleton opened up a lateral hiring process, and a few of the guys I knew from Cunningham were interested in applying. Cody was one of those, but he was very much on the fence and he wasn't sure what he was going to do. I remember getting a phone call from Cody while he was up in the mountains hunting. He and I talked for a few minutes. He asked me some questions about Littleton, and I answered him as best as I could. We hung up, but I still don't think he knew what he was going to do. But I appreciated the fact that he thought of me and wanted to get my perspective. Ultimately, Cody did apply for the job, and he was hired with Littleton. Cody, as well as a few of the others from his previous academy, had the very distinct honor of attending yet another academy. And I happened to be one of the instructors again, alongside with Captain Brandon Bull. Cody could have very easily been upset or bitter. He had to do another academy, but if you know Cody, you know that wasn't the case. He always had a positive attitude, and it was always so much fun to be around. On the days we didn't have physical fitness in the morning, I remember Cody was usually the first one there in the morning, even before the staff many times, running stairs. During our time at the academy, it was very apparent Cody had developed into a strong firefighter. That's a credit to him and to the training and experience he received while at Cunningham. One of the things I was always so impressed with about Cody was he was ridiculously good at throwing ladders. That guy, not saying he was short, but he wasn't the tallest guy out there. But man, that guy could throw a 24 or 28-foot ladder by himself, and he made it look easy. Once again, during this academy, Cody helped his peers by working with them in the morning, during lunch, or even staying after. He made even more friends and was a true mentor to many of his peers. After graduating, Cody was assigned to C shift at Littleton, and for the second half of his probation, he was assigned to my crew at Station 17 on Medic 17 with Lieutenant Ryan Knutson. This is where my crew and I began to get to know Cody as a person. Cody immediately fit in with our crew. He was a hard worker around the station and always carried himself in a professional manner on calls and while interacting with his coworkers in the public. Cody was also a paramedic, and part of our job was to train him and get him signed off to function as a paramedic in our system. I remember having a conversation with Lieutenant Knutson after one of our first shifts where Cody was attending on medical calls. We were both so impressed with him and agreed he wasn't going to need much from us. In fact, we were probably going to learn a lot more from him. Cody was one of the easiest rookies we trained at our station, and I use that term trained loosely because he didn't need much of anything from us when it came to firefighting or medicine. As I mentioned before, this is the time I started to get to know Cody as a person. I knew him pretty well, but when you live with people for 48 hours at the station, you learn a lot more. I learned how much he loved his wife, Emily. He talked about her a lot and always spoke so highly of her. I saw how much he loved his children. He was always so concerned about their well-being and always talked about what they were doing and how they were doing. I also knew how much Cody loved God. He didn't have to tell you about it. The way he carried himself and his actions always demonstrated his faith and love for God. I learned about Cody's love for food and cooking as evidenced by some of the most amazing stuffed burgers and ribs, along with many other meals I can't even remember he made on the smoker at Station 17. I learned about his love for the outdoors, whether it was camping, fishing, or hunting. It's pretty clear you like to hunt when you bring your bow to work to try and take out the giant rat that was terrorizing our crew at the station. I also learned about Cody's competitive side. While he was working with us, we discovered a game called Spike Ball and started playing it at the station. He liked the game so much he bought one specifically for the station, and I remember him constantly hounding us to play it. I remember going on many calls where the whole crew was drenched in sweat because we were in the middle of an epic battle. It seemed epic if you were playing. If you were watching, you probably would have had a different opinion. As much as he would try and hide it, he would get so frustrated if he lost or made a bad play. As all you know, Cody was an open book, and he wore his emotions on the outside. It's part of what made him so special. I know he would catch a lot of friendly grief from us because we knew we were pushing his buttons, and he just couldn't hide it. Cody continued to work with us at Station 17 the following year, but because we were usually training rookies, he was often roved out. He was involved in many different aspects of our fire department. He was on the wildland team. He played on our softball and hockey teams, participated in the chili cook-off, police and fire games, as well as helped run the Littleton Firefighters hockey tournament. As you all know, Cody also worked with leather. He made many things, including wallets and radio straps. You'll see many legacy Littleton and Cunningham firefighters using harnesses made by Cody. About a year and a half ago, Cody and I ran one of the most memorable calls I've ever had in my career. We were called to a medical facility for a man having cardiac problems. When we made it on scene, we immediately knew the patient was very sick and needed intervention. Cody initiated patient care and maintained it all the way to the hospital. When we arrived at the hospital, the patient went into cardiac arrest. Cody immediately took action, performing CPR, and began directing others in the room. The patient's heart stopped a total of 3 times in the emergency room. And every time, Cody was an integral part of the care being provided to save this man's life. I was with the man's wife during much of the time, keeping her updated on what was going on, and I got to watch Cody in action. While it was a team effort that night, I have no doubt in my mind, if Cody was not there, this man would not be here today. Many of you may have recently seen a story about this. And that man, his name is Michael, and he and his wife Ann are in attendance today. They're both so grateful for Cody's actions that night and share my opinion that Mike would not be here today if not for Cody. I remember when Cody told me he had the tumor, and I remember seeing how worried he was about it. Although he continued to work and live life, I know he still continued to do the things he enjoyed. Over the next months and year, we kept in contact about what the next steps were, and ultimately the decision to go ahead with the surgery. I saw him on his last shift. I wished him good luck, and I told him I loved him. I was out of town when he had the surgery, but I kept informed through emails and social media. When I got home, I texted him, and I said I was sorry I hadn't been to see him, but I'd been keeping track of him. He replied back and said, "No worries, and thanks for checking in." That's the last communication I ever had with him. I'm not going to go into details about the last few days of Cody's life. I think there's enough information out there to demonstrate the incredible show of love and support for Cody and his family by his friends, his family, and the fire department. What I will say to Emily, Willow, Barrett, Weston, Georgia, your unborn daughter, and the rest of Cody and Emily's family, is that the love and support you've seen is directly related to the man that Cody Mooney was. We will always be here for all of you, and we're so sorry for your loss. Okay. My final words. First, thank you again for the honor of standing in front of you and letting me speak about Cody. And next, as many of you know, who I taught in the academy, were a probationary firefighter at my station. I was careful to not give you too high a praise for the job you were doing. I would tell you sarcastically that you were meeting the minimum standards, even though the ratings you might be getting might be much higher. I remember using that phrase with Cody many times, and his reaction was always the same. He would say, "Thank you, sir," and then he'd give that little chuckle afterwards because he knew. Cody, when it came to being a man, a husband, a father, a friend, a firefighter, and everything else, you greatly exceeded the minimum standards. I'm so honored and blessed to call you my friend and brother. I'll miss you. We'll all miss you. Rest easy, Cody. We got it from here.